And welcome back this morning. Taft talks with our garden expert, Paul James, about planting pansies for you. 2 works for you in the garden.
Good morning, welcome back to In the Garden. And you know, Paul, now as we're finally transitioning into fall, we've covered a little bit about mums, but it's not time to rest. We have some other things that we can also plant, and then we also have to think about preparing for spring. Even though it's 6 months away, we still have to start thinking about it.
Yes, and I've been loving your forecast lately. Well, I love them all the time.
Oh, well, appreciate it.
But I'm not seeing any 90s. I'm seeing 80s. I mean, I think we've rounded the bend, so to speak. You tell me.
Yeah, I think we're slowly heading in the right direction.
So there's 3 cool season topics that I want to address today, and all 3 are cool. First and foremost, pansies.
Pansies.
Okay? This is just such a spectacular way to get so much color in the garden. And you've got the big face pansies that are hugely popular. And then you've also got the little violas, or
the dainty ones.
Violas. I think viola is the instrument, the stringed instrument, isn't it?
I think it is.
So we'll call these violas.
Sounds good.
They're a little daintier, but I really like them. Easy to care for, hold their color and their flowers until it gets pretty doggone cold. I mean, into the mid-20s. And then they rebound next spring and put on this huge flush of color.
Well, yeah, they're really hardy. Again, if you can keep the rabbits off of them, they're going to keep that color right on through the fall and even the part of the winter.
Those wascally wabbits.
Oh, tell you what, always having an issue with them.
All right, so that's one thing to consider.
Okay.
There's 2 more I want to bring up.
2 more.
Let's go that way.
All right.
All right, Taft, now we're in front of the spring flowering bulbs.
Okay.
Shipment just arrived. These are great interplanted with the pansies. So you plant the bulbs, you plant the pansies above ground, and next spring you've got this gorgeous display. But the weird thing about spring flowering bulbs, and I know I've mentioned this before, but I'm on a mission here. People forget to plant them. You've got to plant them in the fall, ideally 6 weeks before the first hard freeze. You'll be the one to tell me when that's coming around, because they have to chill in the ground for several weeks. Then they'll emerge, and they may emerge a little prematurely and everybody freaks out in early February. Don't worry about it. They'll be fine, but you gotta plant now.
And that's the idea, is we think so much in the short term, and we need to think long term as we start going into the fall and already prepare ourselves for the spring.
Exactly. And look, you can't do better in terms of bang for your buck than these bulbs. A dozen of them, less than 10 bucks. 2 years from now, if you plant a dozen, you're probably gonna have 18 or 24. A few years after, they just keep multiplying. So the tulips less so. Tulips aren't real dependable perennials around here, but the daffodils, the hyacinth, the crocus, all those great perennial flowers.
And one thing, we put it in the ground, cover it up, we don't have to mess with it for a few months until next spring.
Easy enough.
Sounds great.
All right, one more task for cool season, fescue and rye.
Wow, let's go.
All right, Paul, our last stop, talking about things to do to plant in the fall, fescue.
That's right, fescue and rye.
Okay.
There's the fescue grasses, then there's perennial rye and annual rye. But by far and away, probably 90% of all grass seed that's being sown this time of year is fescue. It's a great grass for this area. Does really well in the shade.
Okay.
You can plant both spring and fall, but actually fall's a better time. So I strongly recommend that you get out and do it. Ideal time, daytime temperatures in the mid-80s, overnights in the mid-60s. We're there, pal.
Yeah, right now.
And as it gets cooler, it's fine to just keep on going. I mean, this stuff can tolerate really cool soils. So it'll come up in 7 to 10 days. You got to water regularly, twice a day ideally, just to keep the seedbed moist. And then, mow once it gets, say, 4 or 5 inches tall. Go ahead and do your first mowing. It's really not that hard. You can scratch the soil a little bit if you want to loosen up bare spots, but you just spread the seed by hand or with a spreader. Water well, and it's going to germinate.
Do we have to worry too much about birds and those type of things, taking some of the seed?
Typically, no. I mean, sometimes you'll get a little bit, there'll be a little bit of a problem, but generally, no. Especially if you'll go ahead and, soak it well and get good soil to seed contact. They usually leave it alone.
So what we're thinking about at the end of this segment is not only are there some things that we can plant for the fall, but also have to think ahead. That's one thing we need to do in any type of gardening, is think ahead to the next season and what we can do right now.
Absolutely. And the one thing you need to do?
Yes.
Keep that cool weather coming, pal.
We're going to keep working on it. We're going to keep doing it.